Hi, and welcome to our next level 2 coordinate geometry video. In this video we're going to look at how to find the gradient between 2 points. So we're back to our Cartesian plane, our x and our y axis, and we're going to calculate the gradient between 2 given points. The gradient is referred to as how steep the line is, and hopefully in the last few years you've been looking at rise over run. Right, to calculate the gradient of a line that passes between 2 points on the Cartesian plane, we're going to use the following formula. The gradient is equal to y2 minus y1, that's on the top of the fraction, over x2 minus x1, that's on the bottom of the fraction. And this formula is being worked out by figuring out the rise over the run. So let's show you how the formula works. We've got 2 points. Our first point, which is across in the x direction and up and down in the y direction, and has a coordinate x1, y1. Our second point is also across in the x direction and up in the y direction, and it has the coordinate x2, y2. And we're going to use x1, y1, x2, and y2 to work out the gradient between them by working out how far it rises by going y2 minus y1, and how far it runs by going x2 minus x1. So hopefully you've figured out that all we do is we go y2 minus y1 on the top, and on the bottom we go x2 minus x1. Right, let's show you with example number 1. Find the gradient of a line that passes between points D and E. So D is 1 to the right and 2 down, so it's 1, negative 2. And E is 7 across and 2 up, so it's 7, 2. So here's our gradient formula. And let's copy it over here and color coordinate it and work out with D and E what are our X and our Y values. X comes first, Y comes second. So now let's substitute into our gradient formula. So we're going to go Y2 minus Y1, which is 2 minus negative 2. And we're going to go 7 minus 1, which is x2 minus x1 on the bottom. Now, be careful with the top. 2 minus negative 2 is the same as going 2 plus 2. And on the bottom, 7 minus 1 is 6. So we end up with 4 on the top and 6 on the bottom. This line rises up 4 squares and runs across 6 squares. But we could simplify that down to 2/3 if we prefer. Okay, example 2. Find the gradient of a line that passes between points R and S. So R is 2 to the left and 3 up. So we write this as negative 2, 3. And point S is 1 to the right and 3 down. So we write this as 1, negative 3. And we're going to figure out the gradient between these points. So here's our gradient formula once again. And we're going to work out the rise over the run. So we remember x comes first, y comes second. So we're going to substitute this into the gradient rule. Now this gets a little bit tricky with the negatives. So here we go. We're going to go negative 3, which is y2, take away 3, which is y1. That's on the top. And on the bottom we're going to go 1 minus negative 2. Okay, on the top, negative 3 take away 3 makes negative 6. And on the bottom, 1 take away negative 2 is the same as 1 plus 2, which makes 3. So this line has a gradient of negative 6 over 3. Now going back to the diagram, think about it rises down 6 squares, but still runs across 3 squares. Now, negative 6 over 3 can simplify to a gradient of negative 2. It's negative because the gradient is coming down. Okay, quick look at example 3. We're not going to work through the whole thing, but I want you to realise that point A and B have the same y value, and when we go y2 minus y1, 2 minus 2 is 0, and we get 0 divided by 6, which is a gradient of 0. And it's a horizontal line, so this thing has a gradient of 0. And what about this example? Both these points have the same x value, so when we go 5 minus 1 over 3 minus 3, we end up with 4 divided by 0, which doesn't work, so we say it's undefined gradient. Thanks for watching.